Hey Will, how are you?
Hey Jill, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. So, hey everyone tuning in. My name is Jill Berkowitz. I'm the community manager at Clerk Chad. And
And hi guys, I'm Will. I'm our AI implementation specialist, and we're here to talk about the news this week in AI.
so we have four topics to cover today. The first being OpenAI blocking access from China. The second, Dell and Supermicro computer creating hardware for Elon Musk's AI. Hackers that are able to jailbreak AI. And Google's 7 principles for AI regulation. So let's start with the first one. OpenAI reportedly plans to block access in China. I had read an article on Mashable. If the reports are correct, this will likely be happening by July 9th. Although ChatGPT is not available in mainland China, many users have figured out how to access it via the OpenAI API. It's unclear why OpenAI is starting to restrict access. So, as a result, Chinese based AI companies, I'm thinking like the Ernie bot as an example, are moving fast to try to bring in some OpenAI tech users. So, my question for you is, do you have any intel on this Ernie bot or what its differences may be in comparison to ChatGPT? Because I'm totally unfamiliar.
Yeah, I actually interestingly hadn't heard of the Ernie bot. I did a bit of research. It's from a company called Baidu, and they're like OpenAI. Their chatbot is called Ernie bot. And I've heard of some other models from China, like a video generation model. It's interesting, like why OpenAI are withdrawing from China. And there definitely is emerging like this kind of AI tech race who can, have access to the best chips and then who can generate the best models. And at the moment, I mean, everything that I read tells me that the US is further ahead of China at the moment. Well, basically, it's number one in the world. But that now you then get a model released from China, like this video model, and it's just as good as OpenAI. So actually, it makes you think like there maybe is a gap, but that gap is closing and it's not actually that far apart.
Well, I'm assuming that we'll get more insight into this by mid July as more news comes out around the topic. Musk says Dell Supermicro computer will provide hardware for his AI startup. This was an article I read from Investopedia. Elon Musk's AI startup, which is XAI. Listeners may be familiar with Grok, by the way, which is an XAI chatbot, which is supposed to be a competitor to ChatGPT. So Dell Technologies and Supermicro computer will be developing hardware for XAI. Musk specifically explained on X that Dell is assembling half of the racks that are going into the supercomputer that XAI is building. Elon Musk, temporarily since it's been dropped, sued Sam Altman for violating OpenAI's original mission. Do you think Elon created XAI specifically to compete with OpenAI, or do you think he has other reasons, like simply being an innovator?
Yeah, I think Elon is maybe not known for for innovating with like safety at the forefront of his mind. He's certainly known for innovating and pushing that barrier of what we know is possible with technology. He's always been at the forefront of that. But yeah, he's not known for maybe being as safety conscious when it comes to developing these technology. So I think in terms of building something to innovate and building something to compete with OpenAI, I think that's definitely one of his core motives. In terms of building something that competes with OpenAI on safety, I think that's potentially less. And actually, so on the XAI website, it says that they are guided by their mission to advance our collective understanding of the universe. So, I mean, that's quite broad and it's a very valuable mission. It's very, I'm missing the word, but it's very legitimate mission. But yeah, I think it's definitely more on the innovation end, pushing innovation than.
It's a super open ended mission, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
I mean, it could mean a lot of things. Better understanding of the universe, is that what it said?
well, literally, if you just go on their website, it literally says our mission, understand the universe. That's it, like 5 words.
Right. I mean, that could be a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot.
The third article, Hackers Jailbreak Powerful AI Models in Global Effort to Highlight Flaws. This was from the Financial Times. Let's start by giving a little bit of background info here. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it. Pliny the Prompter is a known hacker who seems to know how to hack AI. Some examples include Meta's Llama 3, Elon Musk's Grok. It seems he's finding ways to have the AI model share things that are incorrect, inappropriate, or biased. Interestingly, though, the hacker's take is that hacking was an effort to highlight the shortcomings of large language models rushed out to the tech companies in the search for huge profit. So it's almost like an intentional look at what it can do. If someone like me can come in and teach it to share this inappropriate information or inaccurate information, There are many other people out there who can do that too. I'm just one example. Which brings us back to this whole conversation about the actual abilities of artificial intelligence if it gets into the wrong hands. Do you think AI companies are prioritizing profit over safety and ethics?
Yeah, I think there's a spectrum with all the AI companies that exist. You've got some that are really chasing the innovation and making money. And I think there's a lot of stuff in the news and general sentiment that OpenAI are at that end of things. And then you've got companies that prioritize more safety. One example of that is Safe Superintelligence that Ilya released recently, or that he announced his company recently, and that's hopefully more at the safety end of things. And I think Anthropic as well are generally known for being a bit more safety conscious, and while also pushing the barrier of innovation, that kind of limit. But yeah, I think I found this interesting as well, kind of learning about this guy Pliny the prompter, and it almost seemed like kind of a game to him, because I checked his Twitter feed out, his X feed, and like every time a new model is released, within like an hour, he'll be like, okay, look, I broke it, like this and this, and he's got the model doing some like pretty bad things that it definitely shouldn't be doing.
I think he's like intentionally trying to make a point.
Yeah, which I think is great. He's like showing this is what the model can do. It's raising awareness around the issue that they're not 100% safe. And that in itself will mean that AI companies who are releasing new models will have to think deeper about what they're putting out and the consequences of not regulating it 100%.
I think this also comes down to this whole conversation of reliable sources. I don't consider AI to be a reliable source yet. When I search for something on the web, for example, I can see what the original source is. I can see if the source was the New York Times. I can see this if the source was Britannica. I can see if the source was the US Almanac. I'm just giving some normal, reliable sources. So depending on the AI that you're using, you may not be given the source back. So if this guy's hacking and he's inputting this crazy information and someone out there looks something up and that's the information that they're received back, they're not told this is coming from a hacker. So if someone doesn't understand this whole concept of reliable source and reads it and is like, oh my gosh, wow, and like believes what they're reading, or doesn't see the either sarcasm or doesn't see the intentional awful humor behind it, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, it's dangerous, yeah. And I think the interesting thing is I saw a few things like what you're referencing to where it's just like kind of sarcastic or like it's not true and he's just trying to prove a point. But there's other stuff where like, 'cause obviously there is a lot of bad things on the internet, and AI has been trained on this kind of unavoidably, right? And so he sometimes surfaces things that like, would even be hard to find on the internet, but he's somehow getting AI to reproduce that, something that it's seen on the internet and then, kind of produce. So yeah, I think that's the other side to it, which is like spreading more information that's true and dangerous, that like people shouldn't have access to.
It was almost reminding me of that article or that paper that we read that Alex had, the co-founder of ClerkChat, Alex had shared with us about BS and the difference between BS, soft BS, and hard BS. And I ultimately was like, BS is BS, But the more I thought about it, I actually also started to see and think about the difference. And I'm still considering it. One of my responses was that if AI is scraping the internet for information, it could be pulling information from everywhere. I don't know how well trained AI is on scraping only from reliable sources. Like, does AI have the ability yet to almost like rate sources? If they're scraping the internet and they find 10 pieces of information on this one topic, does AI have the ability to rate these 10 sources and know which one is most reliable? I don't know that you have the answer to that, but that's like what I'm thinking. If I was on the back end working on AI,
I think that's eventually the direction it will probably go, where AI will have the ability to, because at the moment, hard soft BS is like, it's trained on everything on the internet, and like some of that's real, some of that's fake, but like also a lot of it's opinion and it's real to someone is fake to someone else. And yeah, I think it'll get to a point where it'll be able to really distinguish between a good source, a bad source, something that's someone's opinion, something that's someone else's opinion, two contradicting opinions, but one's not fact, Yeah, which is also the point we need to get to with AI being able to generate stuff that seems true, but actually isn't.
I think we at this point just have to put a lot of faith in the end user and how they're using AI.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Google's 7 principles for getting AI regulation right. I actually loved when I found this on Google's blog. So the 7 principles are: support responsible innovation, innovation, focus on outputs, strike a sound copyright balance, plug gaps in existing laws, empower existing agencies, adopt a hub and spoke model, strive for alignment. And then I wanted to highlight something from the section about supporting responsible innovation, the first principle. While new technology involves uncertainty, we can still incorporate good practices that build trust and don't slow beneficial innovation. I loved finding this. It seemed like a great framework for AI regulation and responsibility. How realistic do you think, though, it actually is to implement these principles?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. I think it's once bills are passed, in the US, that starts to make it like something that companies have to do. So yeah, the more bills that get passed, the closer we get to actually having to enforce these regulations. What I found interesting on that article, I love the 7 principle. I found it interesting that they show 5 different acts that they support, like AI Ground Challenges Act. But actually, that's not all of the acts that are being passed. There's one actually that I mentioned in my newsletter that's being passed in California and going to the General Assembly, that a bunch of big tech companies, I'm not sure if Google's one of them, but I know Y Combinator, the famous startup accelerator, has opposed it, and a lot of others. And it's basically another AI safety act about companies having to test them more extensively before they train a model.
Interesting.
So it's interesting. Google, they've got 7 principles, and obviously they're drawing the line somewhere between what regulations help the cause of making AI safer and all, but then inhibit their innovation and ability to go forward. Although I thought the bill that was passed in California was actually quite a good one. So yeah, but generally I think the 7 principles are a good start.
Now thinking also that Google might have been very strategic in what it shared in that blog post that it was clearly supporting.
Yeah, in terms of not like raising alarm bells.
Yeah. Anyway, that is all the news for this week that we are covering, and we cannot wait to chat again next week.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.